Hi book friends, I'm Erin, and this is Charlie, and this is Erin Go Read. So this is going to be a bit of a chatty catch-up video today. As always, every time I think I'm going to be able to film a video while Charlie is asleep, she wakes up right as I'm about to hit record. So Charlie just turned 1 on Sunday. So she's 1 and a few days old right now, and she just woke up from her nap, and she has her adorable new birthday gift outfit on with her little kitty shirt. So we'll see how long she lasts in my nap. If you know a baby, if you've had babies, you know how great that like post-nap, post-wake-up snuggle time is. Oh, she's gonna pet the dog. Anyhow, I wanted to give you a brief update on what's been going on in my life and in my reading life. Yeah, you see the doggy? So my husband is okay, but he just was released from the hospital yesterday after about a 10-day hospital stay. So if you don't know, my husband has a traumatic brain injury. He was hit by a roadside bomb in Iraq in 2007, and he requires 24-hour nursing care. He can't move the left side of his body due to his brain injury, and he is very susceptible to frequent infections. So he went into the hospital on a Sunday morning. I can't remember the date, but went into the hospital on a Sunday morning. He'd had a temperature. Yeah, who's that? He'd had a temperature of 101 the night before, some respiratory issues. So he was admitted to the hospital. They know him there. They know to take things seriously with him. And it turns out that he was septic. So there was bacteria in his blood, and we couldn't find a source. So we did several tests to try to pin down the source, and we couldn't. And because we couldn't find the source and the seriousness of having sepsis, he's going to be on like a 4-week long course of antibiotics. So he has about 3 weeks left. So he was discharged yesterday with a long-term IV in his chest where he can continue to receive his IV antibiotics. And then when that course is complete, we'll have that line removed. So he's doing better. So what have we been reading? Let's start off with what Sam and I have been reading. So we've been reading, the dust jacket is with him. We've been reading Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the 4th book in the Red Rising saga, and the first book, and I believe it's going to be a new trilogy. So I kind of think that this is going to be a little bit how like Robin Hobb does her. I haven't read any Robin Hobb yet, but I know that she basically has like series of trilogies that all exist in the same world. So it sounds like maybe this is what is going to happen here. You're going to go play? So Iron Gold takes place, it starts off 10 years after the end of the events in Morning Star, the final Red Rising trilogy book of the original trilogy. So we're seeing what's happened since in the aftermath of the Rising, and where Darrow and Severo and Mustang and his whole cohort are now, and what has happened to the society in this time and moving forward. So really interesting there, and an interesting look at like at what cost, at what point is the cost of freedom and liberty too much, or is there is that a thing at all? Sam and I are really enjoying Iron Gold. So if you are completely unaware of like the Red Rising series saga, it's essentially it's like sci-fi dystopian with a lot of politics and war. Really great writing too. So I don't always necessarily associate sci-fi or dystopians with like really great writing, but Pierce Brown does write beautifully. So next up, kind of a book that came out this year in 2019 that I really wanted to make sure that I finished this year, just for no other reason that I want to, and that is Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. I love this, obviously the dust jacket is on, but I love this like mustard yellow blue combination here, and this was a Book of the Month book from April of this year. And so I'm close to 100 pages into it right now, and it's, I'm not sure, over 300 pages long. So far, this book is living up to the hype for me. I've heard, anyone who I've heard speak about this book before has glowing reviews for it. We start off at the home of a Korean American family who runs a hyperbaric chamber therapy service, and there was a fire and 2 of their patients were killed. And we know from the get-go that that this Korean family is hiding something. So we know from the beginning that there is some sort of secret that the Sue family is keeping. It doesn't appear to be anything like causal to the actual fire that happened, but for some reason there's something that they're trying to hide. And so that kind of adds to the mystery. Oh my goodness. Never work with babies or animals. And then the book takes place mostly, at least so far, at the trial, the murder trial of one of the mothers of one of the kids who happened to not be in the chamber at the time that the fire started. So we follow, each chapter is kind of from a different person's perspective, one of the patients or one of the Sue family. So we have the mother, that's the father, the mother, and the daughter, and then some of the patients. So we'll see them, sitting on the witness stand, being questioned by either the defense attorney or the prosecutor, and then we get more backstory into what's going on with each of these characters. So the puzzle pieces just kind of start coming together, and I imagine there's going to be multiple twists before we get to the conclusion. So then I have been participating in the September Space Opera September, and I have so far had read 2 novellas. If Fortunate to be Taught. Be Fortunate to be Taught, I think, by Becky Chambers. It's a novella, really great. I'll go into that during my wrap up, my part 1 wrap up. But I thought that was a really good. That was a really great novella, and it was nice to get a new Becky Chambers book under the belt. I also read Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, which Binti number 1, which satisfied reading a second female author and a diverse author. I believe Nnedi Okorafor is Nigerian. Sam and I are reading Iron Gold, which is a space opera, and it is a book over 500 pages. So I don't know that we'll get to finish it this month, but we're working on it. And then after I finish Miracle Creek, I would love to get back to Dune. Sam and I had barely started reading this together, and it was just, we're on page 24. And we decided to put this one down. I was just going to read it alone. And this would satisfy a book that was written before I was born, or published before I was born. And this was published originally in 1965. So well before I was born. And then I haven't gotten to it at all, but I would love to get back into Gone with the Wind. The trouble with this book is it's because it's so heavy. Oh my. Because it's so heavy, it's hard to take with me. It's like a brick. So ideally, this will be toward the end of the month my at-home book. And then while we were at the hospital, when things are going well, it's nice every now and then just to get out and do something for myself. And I was seeing all the hype and everything about the Testaments coming out. And I listened to the audiobook of The Handmaid's Tale, I think about 2 years ago. And I can specifically remember doing yard work actually in the backyard while listening to it. And so I really wanted a refresher, and to do that by reading the graphic novel. And I'd seen a couple people recently talk about having read this, and just the art is really great, and it's a fun way to experience a story that you've read, and where the graphics experience a story that you've read in a different way. So in a graphic novel, you're not going to have all the descriptions that you have in the book, but it's visually represented. So I really enjoyed that in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery is my favorite short story of all time, and my library had a copy of the graphic novel. And so that was a really fun way to re-experience that story and to read into the pictures in the feelings that they're having and the descriptions of the settings and all. So then, of course, I did pick up Margaret Atwood's The Testaments. Testaments. And mostly I wanted to pick this up. I don't intend to pick it up like right away, although I would like to read it soon. But, hi. Yeah, I'm getting baby smiles. But, you know, as a Barnes & Noble member, you get 40% off if I bought it somewhat right away. So I wanted to make sure that I got that deal because I knew that I would be buying this book soon. And then while I was there, I also discovered that Stephen King just had a new book come out called The Institute. And this sounds like a messed up kind of dystopian boarding school kind of situation. Like these kids wake up in a room that looks exactly like their room, but they're not in their room. They're at some other place. They're at apparently the Institute. And so I would really like to get more into Stephen King. I have a few that I own already. The Long Walk by him is one of my favorites. That is one that was originally published under his pen name Richard Bachman, and is somewhat of reminds me of The Lottery or The Hunger Games, and in which we have some sort of terrible tradition that started off with an actual purpose. That continues on even though the need for it is no longer there, and it essentially ends up in children dying. So that is what I am up to right now. Hubby is doing much better. I'm very happy to have the kids back today. The two older kids are in school right now, and the baby's just being fun. Come here, honey. Come here. Are you part of the Margaret Atwood hype train right now? Do you have a baby who's turned 1? We do. Thank you for watching. See you around the tubes. Look who's there. Hi.